swell turnout. Appreciate you guys coming. Seriously, we'd like to welcome you to our meeting. It's always welcome, and we got several things on the agenda that several people are interested in. So we'll get started. I'd like to recognize our county manager for any announcements you might have at this time. Okay, Gary, anything? Ron? Macon County Fire Department, maybe 16. Got it? Keep them all. All right, we're going to stand and observe a moment of silence. Follow the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Sept. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, if you'd allow me some latitude as chairman, Mr. DeVille is on the menu tonight to present, and based on the number of T-shirts I see, we have a lot of folks here with him. So I'd like to move that up and let's go ahead and take care of that business. If that would suit the board, is that okay? Everybody? That's the deputy. And if there's extra folks that are here for that particular issue, we can get them in for that, and then
Let's hear from the teacher.
Yeah, let's try to get you folks on in that are here in connection with teachers and education.
Does that get everybody in? Okay, Sheriff, you got everybody in?
Everybody wants to be in.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, we hope the air's on. Going to recognize John DeVille. John's going to give us an update on the state budget, education issues. So, John, we'll recognize you at this time.
Mr. Corbin, I appreciate that. Certainly appreciate you moving us up. There's a few folks that wanted to have maybe 90 seconds or so to share a few stories. Is that okay?
Are these people that have signed up for public comment?
Yes, sir.
We're going to do that anyway, so if you want to do that, if they want to do that now, that's fine.
Okay. So any of you all who are with me,
I've got
signed up?
I've got Shirley Chase, looks like Mary Price, Rena Sutton, and Melissa Bates. Yeah. Okay. We'll do that part of the public comment now. My point is just to we'll deal with John with this issue now.
Okay.
You have so many people here.
Okay, thank you.
And that way they're not having to stay through the whole meeting. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. My name is Mary Price, and I am an elementary school counselor at Iowa Valley, and I'm also the local president for the MCAE. My comment that I would like to make tonight is based upon the evaluation and intervention and testing that we are required at the elementary level to do. This is K through 6, and it takes quite a bit of time. All of the interventions and testing has to be done on an individual basis. Because we have a lack of teachers' assistants in the schools, and we only have them at kindergarten, I am having to cover teachers' classes so that they can go out and help to cover and test the other students individually. Last week, I had to cover 7 classes in addition to the 19 other classes that I teach every week. This is time-consuming, and it's very difficult for the teachers to have to do. And if you look at the state requirements and duties of a guidance counselor, it does not fall in the parameters of that. But someone has to do it because we don't have coverage any other way. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any folks that I call you, sure. Just tell us your name correctly.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Bates. I'm a first grade teacher at South Macon Elementary. I'm focusing tonight just a few moments that most of you know I'm fairly long-winded, so I'm going to keep it very short tonight. But I'm speaking tonight on the issue of teacher assistants, which is, I know in the Senate budget, is a very, very big item, and an item that is desperately hurting our schools. Our teacher assistants have already been cut. We only have a couple of teacher assistants to help at South Macon for first grade and second grade. Some of the other schools are in a worse situation than that. They don't have anybody except for kindergarten. I'm not able to read individually with all of my students every day, which is the most important part of my job, but there's simply only one of me for 20 students. I'm not able to individualize instruction, meet them in small groups, get to all of them. It's really, really an impossible job to be able to meet them. And I've got 20 children in my classroom who all deserve individualized instruction. Every single one of them. Not just those who are struggling, but every single one of them. And they deserve that, and I'm not able to give it to them. When we have students that get injured on the playground, teachers are having to make the decision between leaving an entire class without anybody watching them or taking care of the injured or sick student. That's a safety issue, and I know Ms. Sutton's going to talk about safety issues that we're having just because of lack of personnel. On top of that, if we go with the budget, the Senate budget, and reduce class sizes to 15 instead of teacher assistants, our schools, I'm sure Mr. Bell could tell you that our schools don't have the infrastructure for that, so what's going to end up happening is you're going to have 30 students in a classroom with 2 teachers. I can promise you that's not an ideal situation for our schools. And Macon County schools, our children don't deserve that. And lastly, just on the point of teacher assistants, these are our community members. They're our tax-paying citizens too. And they deserve to have job securities and not wondering from year to year if they're going to have a job next year. That's just part of something we do. We've seen a few legislators going around the state starting to spend more time in schools just following teacher assistants to see what they're doing, and I'm hoping that is a trend that will pick up, because we would love to have more people coming into our classrooms and our schools to see what is happening right now. So thank you for your time.
I am Rena Sutton, and I want to speak about safety concerns primarily. I am the school counselor at South Macon. I love my profession and where I work. I'm also the past district director of NCAE for this region, from Macon County, Transylvania County, west. So, everywhere I go, throughout the state, and to represent the state on a national level, we're on the top of the Bless Your Heart list right now, North Carolina teachers are. And we appreciate everything the commissioners do for our county to help us out. I believe in equity, and it's hard to get equity when the state doesn't sponsor the budget, and the county commissioners have to do it from each county. One thing that really bothers me, because I love children, I love people, is how do we keep the schools safe? We had a near miss at South Macon last year, and now we have less personnel. We have the most wonderful personnel I could ever want to work with. We double up all the time. We have safety for the personal health of our teachers, for instance. Sometimes teachers will look at me with a desperate face as I walk down the hall, and they say, "Will you cover my class so I can use the restroom?" That's a safety concern. We also have janitors and counselors and every type of person that could be doing something else, their original roles. We take turns on car riders. We have bus drivers doubling up. Anyone that can help gets on duty to try to cover safety concerns, but it's not enough. I also want to talk about the safety concern of not having driver's ed teachers in the future. My husband is a driver's ed teacher for Macon County. I was hoping he could speak for himself, but I guess he's used to me speaking for him at times. He's working his second job, one of his second jobs right now, and after school, and he's not here yet. But I heard, what?
He's here backing me up. He's here.
Okay. Yeah. Alton, I hope I represent you well. I do want to say this, that we've had multiple comments from parents about the excellence of education that their children receive from driver's ed. They've told us that their children are correcting their driving after Alton taught them. just like he does mine. And we also are concerned about the future of our state's safety if our children do not receive driver's education from an objective person instead of the parents struggling with every detail of driver's ed. Also this morning, I'm sure you heard that it's going to be an insurance problem too as well, which will, not only impact the counties and the parents from paying for it. If they do away with it, then our insurance rates in all probability will go up. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to address anything else to the schools? Shirley? Yes. Shirley Chase.
I've been carrying this sign around for a couple of years now. The other side is pay our teachers, their kids need a roof and food too. As well as this side, my tax dollars are for public education. I'm here simply as an interested party to support our teachers. Our educators are requesting that you listen to their proposed resolution. I'm interested because my son is a teacher and assistant football coach in Macon County, North Carolina. And my granddaughter, I'm proud to say, is a high school special ed counselor and girls volleyball coach in Boonville, Mississippi. And that doesn't fall very far from the truth. Teachers are expected to do more with less and are disparaged and disrespected when they can simply not do more than watch their education dollars be funneled to outside vendors. An aside, my granddaughter's beginning pay, this is in Mississippi, was over $35,000. She also gets a stipend for something I don't know what, and she gets a stipend for coaching, beginning coach at $3,500 a year. I don't know what year my son started under Gary Shields, but I don't think that his starting pay even was close to $3,500 even in today's dollars. And his coaching stipend, he's reached the top of the pay grade for coaching stipend, and it's $3,200, and it was really quite a blow to my son to realize that his daughter, as a rookie coach, is making $300 more on her stipend. I just want to stand here for our teachers and say, please give them your attention. They need our help. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else under public comment? Let me just say a word or two, John, for clarity. If I could, we hear what you're saying, and if I could respectfully say you're preaching to the choir. We are very much supportive of public education. Let me give you just a couple of statistics. Mr. Ronnie Beal just finished as the president of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. They conducted a statewide survey of a comparison of all 100 counties. And actually, we received this information a couple of weeks ago, and this was printed in the Macon County News, I think, last week. Macon County, we're not talking about North Carolina, we're talking about specifically Macon County. We were 18th in the state of North Carolina for expenditures on education for last academic year. Macon reported a graduation rate of 88.2%, which was near the top of the state. Macon had the 6th lowest dropout rate in the state at 0.9%. So we're doing a few things right here in Macon. So we'll be sure what we're talking about here. We're talking about the state's effort and your perception of what their budget might do. You're not talking about local dollars.
That's correct.
Correct. In an ideal world, the way this thing works, the county provides bricks and mortar. We provide the buildings, and we provide that roof that Shirley talked about. We're providing that. We did that. As chairman of the school board, I was involved over the past 20 years in a long-range plan that replaced all our aging schools, replaced them with newer schools with more room to teach those kids. We did that. We feel like we've done our part as a county, as a school board, as county commissioners. And we do understand what you're talking about with the state, and but understand this board, as you look at the members up here, are very pro-education, and our votes have shown that. We have increased spending here, so let me just say that for clarity on the front end, and understand where we are, and we know that you're talking about the state budget and our local budget. So, John, with that said,
And what do I need to do to fire up that PowerPoint?
Click on it.
Johnson right here?
No, it's Johnson, the upper, it's the second one down.
Okay.
The upper right-hand corner.
Right.
Sit down, look.
What's that? I don't know how well it's going to translate to you all to the audience. First of all, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you for moving this up, gentlemen. Come to you for the second time in 3 months. And Mr. Corbin and I are on exactly the same page. Macon County has done its share. Both the school board has done its job, and this body has historically done its job as well. I've got a line here in my closing remarks. I'll go ahead and read it. Our heritage, this is our heritage, which this body, meaning you all, has been excellent stewards of. So we're on the same page. I will cut to the end, and then I'll back up and start at the beginning. What I am asking you to do is to go one more step and ask the General Assembly to match the House's budget, to ask the Senate to match what the House has suggested for public education spending. Let's see if this is going to work. There we go. We are now, just to remind the audience here, we are now 70 days past due. There have been other budgets that have been a little bit later. I don't know that we've had another time when we had a supermajority, one-party control and party control of the governor's mansion and not have a budget. You could argue that's $42,000 a day in cost in terms of per diem. You could also argue that they're saving money because they're working off last year's budget. So I didn't put that number up there. I think there's a lot of misinformation about where we are today versus where we were in 2007, 2008. So again, for the benefit of the public and the benefit of the media, this is where we were 2007, 2008. We had the economy created, as everybody knows in the room, 2008. That brought in then in 2009 a tremendous amount of federal stimulus dollars. So for a while, it was party time in public education in the state of North Carolina and across the country. When those federal stimulus dollars ran out, we were hoping that the state then would return to 2007, 2008 levels. They have not done that. The House budget this year turns that corner back and heads us back in the direction of 2007, 2008. The Senate budget continues to turn us away. In 2008, give you for reference sake here, $58.97 per pupil. If we adjust the number of where we were in 2013, that we were at $51.83 adjusted for inflation. So we're down about $700, $750 per pupil. When you walk the halls of any school in North Carolina, you can see fewer teachers, you see fewer paraprofessionals, you see fewer staff. You walk through the central office on Old Murphy Road, and it's like a ghost town in there. We've got fewer adults in our public schools. We've got 43,000 more students than we did back in 2007, 2008. Textbooks, this is one thing that's absolutely killing us, and I cannot believe that the Senate will not spend more money on textbooks. If you go back to 2007, 2008, we were at $68 per student. Last year, the budget was $15. It would take $400 million to backfill what we have lost in textbooks. What that means here in Macon County is that 95% of our students cannot take a book home at night. Okay, they cannot study at night. Their parents can't tutor them at night. That cripples the classroom experience. There's your statistics right there. Anybody who wants to look at this PowerPoint presentation later, it's on my website, thesocialstudies.org, thesocialstudies.org. It's at the top of the page. One thing I would point out to this body, and I point out to the general public because I don't think that we typically process this information, is that when we have an economic downturn, the school system is hit twice. When we have an economic downturn, public schools get hit twice. We get hit once in cuts to personnel, cuts to pay, cuts to services, cuts to materials, textbooks, you name it. The other half of that double whammy is the fact that we have more and more students coming to us who are now below the poverty line. Let me walk you through these maps right here. This is poverty. Lighter white is very little poverty. Light red is you're headed towards poverty. Darker red, danger zone. Dark red, you got a lot of kids living in poverty. That's 2006. It's 2007. This is the beginning of the economy cratering. That's full recession, recession deepening, getting worse, not coming out. The top end of the economy comes out, the bottom is not coming out. If you want to look at that, we have started to turn the corner here in Macon County. We peaked here in Macon County at 31% of our children in poverty. We're now down to 27.9. I've seen another figure of 34%. So roughly, we're in the neighborhood of 1/3 of our students coming to us in poverty. That means that kid is stressed, lack of sleep, lack of food, lack of parental attention, you name it. And so that we've got kids who are coming to us with greater needs, and we have fewer resources with which to educate them. I'm going to skip past it. One thing I want to focus on right here is a high school teacher. At the high school level, we have cut art, drama, and I think most devastatingly, we have cut foreign language. We are not really able to properly prepare our students for four-year university entrance because of cuts that we have made at the building level. Could we find the money to do that? Yes, and make a first grade, second grade, third grade class somewhere else bigger. Okay, so it's just a question of which limb do you lop off. Again, there's the cuts to textbooks over a 5-year period. The Senate has proposed a $29 million allocation for textbooks. A Republican, Craig Horn, and I think if you listen, you're going to find that Craig Horn is going to probably be the leading voice in the state for public education. He's a moderate Republican in the House. And he came out with a proposal for $76 million. The House has landed on $48 million. So if we could go with the House budget, that would give us $19 million more than what the Senate has proposed. Tremendous cuts to classroom supplies. There's the cuts to teacher assistants over time. Let me back this up right here. Here's a Republican school board member in Charlotte met just a couple weeks ago. We have a state that is dismantling our public school system. The state is going in the wrong direction when it comes to public education. We're going to cut driver's ed. Okay, right now, Macon County Schools has reached in its thin coffers and is pulling out that $75,000 to fund driver's education. Right now, it's an unfunded mandate. This is from Insurance Commissioner Wayne Goodwin just last week. And I would suggest, based on his comments, that cuts to driver's education is a twofold trickle-down tax. Okay, first of all, now you're asking families to pick up that $300, $400 for driver's education. Secondly, according to Insurance Commissioner Wayne Goodwin, not John DeVille, all of our insurance rates would go up in this state. Not just these teen drivers, but all of us, because we have more drivers out on the road without the benefit of driver's education. This right here is a mind blower right here. The Senate budget calls for the end of our pension program, for the end of health benefits at the for anybody who is hired after January 1st, 2016. That's a horrible way to try to recruit and attract quality personnel. So that's one problem with it. The other problem with it is that name me the pension system in the history of pension systems that has survived once new money has is kept from going into it. All retirement systems, Social Security, any pension systems out there, that's all a Ponzi scheme. All retirement systems are that way. They only work when new money comes in. Okay, we could continue to go on our merry way if we would continue to pay in. But when the Senate budget, if that passes with that stipulation in there, I'm afraid that those of us who are in our 50s right now, that when we're on our 70s, the state is going to come to us and say, the best we can do is a 60% benefit. The best we can do is going to be 50% benefit. Well, wait a minute, you promised me this, this, and this. Sorry, we're broke. Okay, and this is what you all very well know as a former school board member, former school board chairman, and as county commissioners, what you all know. And what the public needs to know is that what the state is doing through these budgets is putting more and more pressure on locals to come up with their own funding. Okay, right now the state has a $450 million surplus. They could choose to turn the corner as the House budget has. Okay, there's the overall picture right there in terms of differences between the two budgets. Let me briefly speak to, well, this is a slide that Mr. Shields gave to me last year right here. Came by my room and said, look at this. Okay, and this is pretty concerning. This is what he was pointing out to me right here. This is a declining commitment at the state level, pushing more and more and more of the budget burden onto the counties. Again, back to the fact is to amplify the point that Chairman Corman made, this county has done very well. If you go from 2008 to 2012, we have increased per pupil funding at 20%. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, our current operating expenses stayed flat. However, this county has made tremendous investments in our infrastructure.
Hey, John, point out, go back to that last slide.
Yes, sir.
Our local effort, that was 12-13.
Yeah.
And I've got the 13-14 was 22-47.
Okay.
And what that doesn't reflect also is this county's payment to debt service to cover the buildings that we built, which is our responsibility. So our actual number is higher than that.
Thank you for that clarification. I emailed you all back, and those of you who were here back in 2013, thinking that maybe we needed to stand up. Very upset. This is Senator Apodaca just a couple of weeks ago. Senator Blue called him out. Look, you guys are killing us. Senator Apodaca back to Senator Blue. I'm sorry that Wake County is having problems with teacher assistants and driver's education. I guess $80 million in the bank doesn't go as far as it used to. Snide comment to basically say, look, you all got the money. If you want teacher assistants, if you want driver's ed, pay for it. I find that disconcerting, not because of the attitude so much, but of the posture that it's the county's responsibility to pick up driver's ed and teacher assistants. Cuts to professional development. And again, this last quote right here from Senator Tillman, incredibly influential mover and shaker in the North Carolina Senate. And he says that he thinks that teacher development programs should be paid for at the local level. Historically, they've been paid for at the state level. The Senate took House Bill 117, and they gutted that a few weeks ago. And to pay for some of their new income taxes, they want to broaden the sales tax base. They want to increase sales taxes on advertising, vet care, car repairs, maintenance, so to pay for other tax cuts. And then this is my own nomenclature right here. I call it the glue stick tax. So we have no more tax holiday in North Carolina the first weekend of August that families were able to utilize to go to the store and buy their school supplies with no sales tax. That's been eliminated. We've eliminated so much money for classroom supplies. And I ran into several families that I know at Walmart a couple weeks ago, and they were in there doing what I was doing, which is buying classroom supplies. And they were complaining about the list that's like a scroll of stuff that they're supposed to buy. And they're like, well, why do they need 25 glue sticks? Well, your child doesn't need 25 glue sticks, but that teacher is asking you to buy 25 glue sticks because there's going to be 3 or 4 kids in that room whose parents can't afford to buy any. And we're also, teachers used to be able to deduct classroom supplies that they bought. We can't do that anymore either. This is disconcerting to me as well. Where the Senate is headed is to backfill this gap in the budget by increasing lottery money. Their goal was to make another $155 million next fiscal year. So they're going to increase advertising another $10 million. You're going to sell lottery tickets to liquor stores, going to allow gambling on the smartphone, and Keno at bars and restaurants. I don't know if that's the way we want to raise income. I applaud Sheriff Holland for getting rid of these rip-off machines that we've had up and down this county. Thank you very much. As somebody who has taught a gambling program for the past 4 years, 50% of the people who call that gambling hotline lose their money in these sweepstakes parlors, and so now I guess they'll stop losing it there and they'll just sit at home with their smartphone and lose their money to the lottery. This Taxpayer Bill of Rights, again, just briefly to educate the public. This is something that the Senate has passed. The House has turned its nose down at it, but the Senate is using this right now as a negotiating ploy. If this were to pass, let me give you the numbers right here. You're talking about, and this is across the board, you get this number, somewhere between $1.5 and $2 billion lost revenue. If 60% of revenue goes to public education, you're talking about another cut of $855 million to $1.1 billion cut to public education. And that's a gap that you all and your counterparts in the other 99 counties are going to be asked to fill in. John Locke Foundation even opposes the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. When they did it in Colorado, you can see what the outcome was. They went from 35th to 49th in the nation in their K-12 education. Transylvania Times, that's a county that went 57 to 40 for Romney, was appalled at this Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Recap, again, for everybody in here, and again, I think this is really disconcerting, and this goes a little bit away from public education, but I think it's all part of one big picture. Consider what the General Assembly, especially with the Senate as the vanguard, has done in the past couple of years. They've redistributed Wake County, County Commission lines, Buncombe County Commission lines, and the Greensville City Council districts. They went after Asheville's Water Authority. They went after the Asheville Airport. They went after the Charlotte Airport. They have capped what local government can charge for business licenses. They're pushing more and more items off into the counties that were traditionally funded at the state level. Now they've even told us at the county and city level what we can and can't do with monuments and statues. They are currently proposing consolidation of school districts. That would mean that Macon County might not have its own superintendent in the next year or two or three. And as this board right here very well knows, they have proposed redistribution of sales tax revenue. That proposal right there could cost Macon County $750,000. House Finance Chairman out of Lincoln, Republican Jason Sain. I'm really surprised that the senators have gone along with this, Sain said. They want to brand themselves as more conservative than the House members. But clearly on this issue of tax policy, which I think is the bedrock of Republican philosophy, the House sits strong in opposing redistribution of wealth. There's no other way to say it, but the way it looks more like socialism than capitalism and free markets. This is the House Finance Chairman. This is not Bernie Sanders saying this. Okay? So, again, back to recap where we were in July. I think we've got a few choices here in Macon County. We can let public education decline. We can make up the difference at the state level, and that's what I'm hoping that you all will urge the House to do this evening. We can raise the tax rates here next spring, and I know you don't want to do that for a variety of reasons. Number one, constitutionally, you shouldn't have to. I would like to suggest to you that we blaze a trail. Macon County was the second county in the state that restored due process rights. I thank the school board for doing that. I thank Dr. Chris Baldwin for leading that fight right there. We were second behind Wake after that, then Durham followed, and I think once it hit to Asheville Citizen, Buncombe and Henderson followed in our footsteps. We led the way. I'm going to come back in a second and talk about Dr. Lyle and T. Kelly. So there's the resolution. And let me just give you one last thing here. I give historical ghost tours here in Franklin. And I walk these streets in the evening with both locals and tourists. I tell them about Dr. Samuel Harley Lyle and how he introduced the first mandatory education bill in the Southeast. Native, born and raised here in Franklin. I talk to them about T. Kelly, who was a leader not just in this state, but in this nation for adult literacy. I talked to them about Nathaniel Rankin, for whom Rankin Square is named, who came back from Gettysburg to build school after school after school. This is our heritage here in Macon County. It is the heritage that you all have been excellent stewards of. In my mind, I can hear them when I walk, and they're telling me to fight like hell for the best possible education, because that's what they fought for. What will our ghosts be saying? And what will be people saying about our ghosts in 50 or 100 years? We can take the state's action of telling us what we can do and not do with our monuments based on what they say has to do with our heritage, and we can stand up for our heritage. We can stand up for what Samuel Harley Lyle stood for, or T. Kelly, or Wayne Prophet, or Superintendent Billings, Vic, or Guy Houck, up in Newton, down here in the Valley, Lonnie Crawford, Bill Dyer, Clayton Ramsey, Merle Dryman, Elsie Howard, Gene Young, and Gary Shields. It's not just the 8,500 teacher assistants. It's not just the textbooks. It's not just driver's ed. And it's not just the dismantling of our retirement program. It's the reckless and callous regard in which the public schools have been held. It's also the misregulation of charters and the siphoning of taxpayer dollars to almost completely unregulated and unaccountable private schools. Enrollment in schools of education is down 27% over the past 5 years. Our nationally acclaimed Teaching Fellow program, which provided a full scholarship to the best and brightest seniors in exchange for 4 years of service to our classrooms, was terminated. The General Assembly has the money. The House isn't run by communists. It's run by the part of the Republican Party, which happens to be a little bit younger and perhaps not as reckless or as radical, and they're joined by 32 moderate Democrats. I know that what I'm asking you, that what we are asking you here this evening is a tough choice, because you could construe it that we're asking a Republican majority board to openly criticize Republican Party leadership. And I know that that's a hard thing to ask, to call out members of your own party. It's almost as tough as it might be to openly criticize members of your own family. But I ask you to consider it this way, as a loving intervention for a chamber which has gone astray. The rest of the Republican family is on board. The House Republicans are, Republican governor is, many other Republican school board members and county commissioners across the state who have openly amended the Senate's position in budgets on public education. We even brought a few Republicans with us tonight. I think everybody in this room is way past the R or the D. We are all Maconians here with the proud heritage of going the extra mile for public education. And it is with this sentiment in mind that we respectfully ask for you to pass a resolution this evening to make our voices heard in the closing hours of this year's budget negotiations, and to hope that these voices from the mountains continue to echo for the months to come as to where we stand as a community. I thank all of you sincerely, because I know we all do emotional labor. That's what we do. We are social workers first. And when you all sit there in those chairs, you are performing emotional labor, you are performing thankless labor, and you are social workers first. Because if we can't develop rapport with each other, we can't get to the next step. Being a county commissioner is never easy. It's even more difficult when your partners in government don't exactly stand with you. Please remember that we stand with you so long as you stand by us. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, John. Just a couple of comments. I don't think there's any disagreement here about supporting public education. We know you do, and you know from the numbers our county puts up that our county very much supports public education. Just a couple of issues you mentioned that I will address. The tax redistribution issue, that's something this county got very involved in through the Macon County Association of County Commissioners. We opposed that. We agreed with the quote that was in your presentation, that was more socialist than capitalist, and that we agreed with that. So thankfully we were able to defeat that at the state level, at least at this point. So we're not afraid to get involved in state level politics. I think we understand that. Furthermore, we brought legislation in the past 2 sessions. The idea was born from this board, and legislation has been introduced to financially support counties at a higher level that have K-12 schools. As you know, there are 3 K-12 schools in North Carolina. Guess where 2 of them are? Macon County. So we have asked, we got the Senate actually, we have that introduced, and hopefully we'll get that introduced in the House. The last 2 sessions we've done that. So we're not afraid to get involved at the state level. We're not afraid to get involved. And I'm glad you said the thing about the Republican. I'm a Republican, 4 of us are. 1 of us is a Democrat. We're all involved at the state level as Maconians, not as Republicans or Democrats. So just so you know, that doesn't enter into our thinking. With that said, it'll be up to this board how we proceed. You may or may not agree with how we proceed, depending on it. It'll be the majority of this board to decide. Will we continue to lobby the legislature for more money for our county? The answer is yes. Do we believe that textbook amount should be restored? I think the answer is yes. Do we think the state should pay for driver's education? The answer is yes. And I say that publicly. Now, it'll be up to this group whether we put that into a resolution, do it in that form. But so with that said, as chairman, I'd like to defer to our 2 liaisons. For those of you who don't know, we have a very good relationship with our Board of Education here. We have a liaison group that meets about quarterly, and we have 2 commissioners in that group. two school board members in that group, along with our county manager and superintendent. So I'm going to defer to Mr. Shields and Mr. Beal. They are our two representatives. Gentleman Fox, we've not discussed this at all, so please take care.
I want to say thank you for, Mr. Bill, for your time, the energy that you've given this research. Looking out there on the crowd, probably know 99% of you, even Bert Crawford. Bert, I've seen you a long time. As a school board member, longer than I've been a county commissioner, I've sat on the school board side, and I had a heartburn when I felt that the county commissioners was doing our job. That we need to have a voice in this. And I still feel that way. I have a heartburn now that I'm sitting on this side, and I don't see the Board of Education with any skin in the game. I don't see them being asked to sign a resolution. I don't see them listening to your response. Yes, sir.
2013, they passed a resolution very similar to this in terms of asking the General Assembly to maintain teacher assistants. So they have, historically, they have done it.
Right. I was on the school board when that happened. But I think we've entered a new arena. See, like the debate between the House and Senate. And for me to feel comfortable, they need to be part of this team here. And I don't know how you include them. We made the commitment to use the word rapport with each other a while ago. We made a commitment with the Board of Education. Mr. Bill and I did, and I'm sure the board here, that we would stay in tune with each other. We would work hand in hand with each other. And I still want to hear what their judgment is on this. And if that comes under advisement, I just want to hear what they have to say. And I think they're an elected official, an elected board. They know more about education probably than I do. I'd like to hear their input. I do know when I was on the Board of Education, when it came to teachers' assistants, block grants, instead of using that money for teacher assistants, and I voted for it, we used it for teachers. And we still got that little thing hanging over us today. And it's not just Macon County that did that. And I think enough of us did it. That's why you're seeing the situation now where they're saying, if you're going to do teacher assistants, that's what it's going to be for. And if you're going to do teachers, that's what it's going to be for. So I guess what I'm saying is, I appreciate you coming to the county commission and letting us know. But there's another elected board that I want to know what their feelings are. Thank you very much.
Well, too, like Commissioner Shields, first of all, thank you for being a teacher, if you're a teacher. They let me testify in front of the Education Committee one time, and they invited me back again. I can't imagine why. Just speak to the lottery fund just for a minute. In 2005, when the lottery was started, that money was 40% of it was go to education. Today, that's down to around 17%. So what? And I've had the chance to sit with Representative Singh in the House, and all these folks, the President Association, we're very much involved in these negotiations today. Go back Monday, as a matter of fact. And so this board in particular is very much involved in these negotiations, heavily involved. Conference call tomorrow. So negotiations are ongoing about the budget. This is new ground, as John DeVille said. It's never been like But when it comes to public education, it's never been like this either. Especially teacher assistants. I'm very much advocate for teacher assistants for a lot of reasons. That extra set of eyes in the classroom means more. You know, the 15 people per classroom. The young lady that said, the young teacher who said, you know, if we had 15, you're going to have 30 kids in the classroom with 2 teachers. Good point. You know, very good point. Back to the sales tax and the lottery. One of the things we propose is, as a settlement they might look at is if they do the sales tax redistribution, if they want to make it fair to counties who are losers who are winners, put some of this money back into the lottery and put it back into counties where it's supposed to be, and at least bring it up. If it can't bring it to 40, bring it to 25%. That's millions of dollars in education that we can use, and give us more flexibility in that lottery fund. If you're going to gamble the money, put it back where it's supposed to be. The teacher raises came out of the lottery fund, and now that's why I brought it down. And now some teachers are going to see another raise. Is it going to be equal? No. Some teachers are going to still be penalized. So, but a resolution, we could do resolutions all day, but with the way and the atmosphere that's in Raleigh, John, I'm not so sure that a resolution would help or hurt. I don't know. I really don't know. But they certainly know how we feel as a county. We are involved in that. This county is. And we can't thank teachers enough for what they do every day. The last point I'll make about what goes on in Raleigh is you really can't make it work. You really can't. You really can't. And you sit there and you meet with these folks and Representative Sane and Representative Lewis. It's really now in the hands of 9 folks. The conference that's working on the budget. That's who's really it's in the hands of, and that's who's really working on the budget now. And so it's an interesting time. You know, I've been to these places over the past year where it all started with Senator Brown. We've had a lot of conversation with Senator Brown, and it's interesting. But you've seen Representative Sane's comments. How does it affect Macon County? It affects us because it's all about children. When you boil it all down, budgets, and all that stuff, how does it affect our children? And you're right, it's a different thing than it was 5 years ago. It's a different. You're seeing different children in your classroom than you saw 5 years ago. Maybe even 2 years ago. So it is. It's going to be more interesting than ever in education as we move forward. The only thing is this, as the chairman said, this county stands committed to education. I think we've shown that over time, over a long time, and we will stay committed whether this board decides on a resolution or not. This county will stay committed to education. I think the majority of this board has shown that and will continue to show that. So thank y'all for being here. As a teacher, you can't be thanked enough. We've done the reason they dismissed me from my little speeches at the hearing. They asked me what a teacher should make, and I compared it to, first of all, you're a family counselor, you're a child counselor, you're a nurse, and then you're a teacher. And, well, I did throw in child psychologist, which raised the average way up. And they said, what did that, and that averaged out to about 178,000 years. So that's my last question. So, but it's all true. All those things are true, very true. In a classroom. And a lot of these folks have never sat in a curve, first, second, third, or any classroom. And I admire teachers more than about as much as any occupation to do it every day. Because your job gets tougher. And I say thank you for being here.
Mr. Taylor, Pete, any comments? No? Okay. I'm not here to motion for the resolution coming from a liaison. I could ask for that. I'm not sure we get the motion over the top of the recommendation not to do it. I would like to publicly state, gentlemen, we could agree to this by consensus. We've already agreed to our involvement with the NCACC, but that we support the House budget on textbooks, that we support the funding of driver's ed, that we believe in restoring the lottery funds to its original percentage, which because that was promised to education, and that we emphasize that we, the county, are to provide brick and mortar, and the state is to provide funding for staff. And those issues, I would feel comfortable making that statement if we'll make that statement as a board. Mr. Lazone's, whether we can or we can just.
I think it's a given, Mr. Chairman. We've always spoken, we've always supported those things because we know we're going to end up paying for them. And what it says is that, you know, there's no money funded this year, but yet it has to be taught. Then I think in the next year it says it's to go to the community college, but there's no money allocated for that. So who's going to come and before the podium and ask for that money? You're going to see Dr. Thomas come before and say, we're going to start teaching driver's ed. We don't know who's going to teach it or how we're going to do it, but you need to give us the money. So either way, so, you know, that's just an example of where we're at with driver's education. So I think those things are pretty much a given.
Chairman, I'll go back and reiterate what I was talking about. I think Macon County Board of Education is an elected group. They need to have a part in this too. They are a body that's education, that's their work. And I think they need to have some kind, I'll use the word skin in the game, of saying they believe in this also, this resolution. And so that is my concern, is, you know, you said 2013, we've all said things have changed, the board members, but I'd like to see what their commitment is to a resolution. And don't have a problem signing on one of theirs, or they sign on to one of ours. But if we said we're going to work together and be a partner, then I think that's what we should do.
Can I say one quick thing?
Sure.
I just want to say, I agree with Mr. Shields there, that this is not about education totally. If you made a resolution for this, along with the school board, the county is going to save money because you don't have to put as much money in because the state is saving more money. They're providing more money. So not only are you saving money, taxpayers' money, at the county level, you are also helping out the kids by making a resolution like this. This is not just about education. Yes, we're talking educational monies, but this is taxpayers' money that you would also be saving, not just educators' taxpayers' money, everybody's taxpayers' money. That's all I want to say.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, I agree. All right. Mr. Bill, what I'm hearing your liaison say is take this to the school board. We are probably in agreement with a lot of it, as you've heard here tonight.
When is our next?
Monday night, and we.
When is our next liaison? Do you know? Well, we can call one.
You can do that anytime.
Well, we proceed with that before our next board meeting. I'm going to report back.
Okay.
I didn't know if the school board, their leadership, all they in the school board.
What we do this, I will, as chairman, ask you to have a meeting with your counterpart to the school board, the liaison committee, discuss this between yourselves, make sure they're involved in this, if they see fit to pass a resolution that we would consider.
And I got a feeling they will look at their other three members.
And they can take it.
Right. I'll make room for it.
Okay, fair enough. I'll leave that with you guys. Okay. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Hey, John. Let me say, I just want to say thank you for your efforts. And let me state, you will not have any problems with my vote on this issue whatsoever. And when it comes to the reality of our children, what's truly more important than the children's parents and the teachers? I mean, think about society in general. It's a shame that we can't be successful. As far as I'm concerned, regarding my supporters and the Board of Education.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, John.
Just stay.
Board stand to recess for 5 minutes.
Gentlemen, thanks for coming.
Oh, yeah, thanks for seeing us.
Even though we're on opposite sides.
You're a good man. I don't know. 5 minutes.
Have you put in underground cables lately? No.